What does it mean to you to connect with students looking to get into the automotive field?
Yeah, it's been really eye-opening for me. I think to even learn about the differences of ethanol and the transitions and how cars perform with or without it, and the transition that they're trying to fight even with the government. But I think the most touching part or important part was talking to these young students and directions they want to go, and that's the really cool thing about the automotive industry is there's so many different areas that you can be involved, whether it's the electronic side, the data side, or racing, mechanic, driving, high performance areas of just public cars. So it's I don't know, it was really cool to hear some of the questions and see what really is on their mind and the struggles that they may have trying to get into the industry.
I think it's terrific that they want to, number one. There's so much emphasis placed today on the millennial generation, and the fact that there has to be interaction between the generations to make that happen. And I think it's a street where the generation that they're following has to look back and help them make that transition. That step is really, really important, particularly if they're interested in the development of technology, and that's what racing is all about. We work hard to advance technology as quickly as we can, and there's a lot of young kids with really bright minds, and they deserve an opportunity.
How have things changed with strategy now compared to 25 years ago when you started with Ganassi?
They've changed a lot, but I think, let's face it, we change every day. We have to accept change quickly, especially in motorsports, because if you don't do that, they use your shoulder blades for traction. The differences today are the cars are much closer together. We race more of a spec car, team to team, driver to driver, so you have to pay more attention to the small details than you used to, even with the best driver in your race car. And the second thing is that the pit lane has become the racetrack also. You have to have good stops, quick stops. You have to stop at the right time. You have to judge what's coming at you next. It's more difficult in the pit area than it used to be also, and the guys that go over the wall now are athletes. They're quick, agile, and they get it done for you on race day. And I think looking forward, we're going to have to accept what comes at us next. What's going to happen today? I saw an interview with Bill Belichick right after he won the Super Bowl, and one of the reporters said to him, "What about the Super Bowl here, Bill? How important is that?" He said, "You know what's important to me? 2017." And I think in racing that's what we do. We look forward all the time by learning what we've just done.
After 4 podiums and crashes at Indy and Texas, how does it finally feel to get your first win, and how can you carry that momentum going forward?
Well, it feels great, especially at Road America. It's a track that I've enjoyed to race at. It's the first win for us there, and the first win for 2017. I guess the thing you think about the most is the ones that slipped away earlier in the year. Long Beach, St. Pete, Alabama. And then, the big crash at Indianapolis was a tough one, double points weekend, which makes it very difficult to lose any time there, and then getting crashed out of Texas. So we are leading the points, which, by about 30-something. Had we had a smoother month of May and Texas, we could be, leading by a ton of points right now. But we'll keep our head down, man. This championship's going to be tough, and see what we can gather.
With 7 winners in the first 7 races, is this the season with the most parity you've seen in your career?
I think IndyCar racing is about talent, number one. There's a rich talent pool, so that's probably what it says. Having 7 winners in 7 races says that there's great teams, great team owners, great sponsors, and great drivers. And the cars are equally matched, so it comes down to who can get it done now on a given day.
It's to be expected, man. The Verizon IndyCar Series right now is just the competition's through the roof, and as we've seen, I think throughout the first part of this year and many others, there's a lot of diversity, and we've had numerous drivers be able to take a win. Which I think is why it always comes down to such a widespread championship battle once we get down to the last couple of races. So it doesn't strike me as being any different from any other year. I think we've seen some great teams and great car combinations get the top spot this year.
What was it like racing with Fernando Alonso, coming from Formula One, being an active driver, two-time world champion?
I thought it was cool. The whole situation. It was a very lucky, or you had to be the right place at the right time for his scenario. Especially, they had their regular race, their marquee event at the Monaco Grand Prix the same weekend. But luckily, being a partner with Honda, he was able to make the switch. And he, to me, only got to speak to him, a few times briefly, but he really embraced, the whole environment, the atmosphere at the Indianapolis 500. It's still the world's largest single-day sporting event, and I think he took a few steps back and really embraced what they had there. And unfortunately, he exited the race early, but he did one fantastic job.
Was Honda short up their reliability?
I think Honda, there's always a fine line of performance and reliability, and definitely through the month of May there was, we at Honda had some issues. But yes, I think they've definitely started to nail down the source of the problem, and now it's be a transitional phase-out period, through to the end of the season.
With speeds well over 230 miles an hour at Indy, seeing Bourdais crash like he did in qualifying, do you think eventually they'll put a cap on speeds in IndyCar?
I think that speeds have come up again at Indianapolis, but the reason they've come up is the safety in the race cars and the safety in the walls. We run what's called safer barriers now, which absorb energy. The cars absorb energy, so they absorb the energy rather than the driver. And I think the safety things that are coming at us next with open wheel race cars will certainly not slow the cars down. They'll provide opportunity for us to speed up.
What are some of those things, like the halo or a windshield, or what are some of those innovations coming forward that you spoke of?
Well, more energy absorption, number one. Cockpit protection is really, really important going forward. We've learned that we can save lives by working on that, and so that's what we need to do.
More specifically, going from Road America to Iowa, how do you make that adjustment physically, technically, mentally?
It's a crazy switch, going from Road America. The speeds will be somewhat similar. We'll be I think almost 190 miles an hour top speed at Iowa Speedway. But just the G loadings, man, and how the track has aged. I think over the last 11 years, it's a few more bumps. It's become a lot more of a technical track, trying to get the car better. But strategy is always a big deal here. So I don't know. For us, that's what I love the most about the Verizon IndyCar Series is the diversity. You go from a big road course, old school American road course track, and then you come to a short track oval, which you can't get a bigger difference than that. So excited to get out here, and hopefully we can have a good weekend in Iowa.
I think the strategy is probably somewhat similar. We know how many laps we're going to run, how much fuel we're going to use, when the tires are going to go on the car. But what's terrific about the IndyCar Series is we do exactly that. We go from a natural terrain road track like Road America. We come to Iowa as probably the fastest short track in, if not in the world, certainly in the United States. And we raced at Indy, which was a big oval. We raced street races and other road track races. So it's a terrific series to be a participant.
Which is more challenging, road courses or ovals, and which do you prefer?
I love both. I think that's the best part about the Verizon IndyCar Series is just the diversity of tracks. You got short track, ovals, super speedways, road courses, street courses. To win the championship, you have to be good at all disciplines. But yeah, I think that's for me, the first time I raced on an oval was not until 1999 when I first came to America. All my racing up until then was road course background. But the ovals is very, very different. It's mentally and extremely tough. Mentally to get through the race, especially like a 3.5 hour race at Indianapolis 500. But then the road course is different techniques. So I love them all, man.